Hello and welcome to today's edition of Top Rated Company Spotlight. My name is Adam Conrad. I'm the founder and CXO of Great Recruiters, and I am joined here with one of our first half top rated healthcare staffing companies, Pioneer Healthcare. And joining me today is Dani Brawner, Director of Recruitment over there. Dani, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a wonderful day out there in November. It's not snowing yet here in Michigan. I know you don't know what snow is.
Hey,
Where
my
you're
wife's from Alaska, so I've been there in the dead of winter a handful of times, and that is cold, man.
That is cold. I would rather be in Michigan, but Alaska is beautiful.
It
Well,
is
hey,
a gorgeous place.
before we jump in, want to unpack a lot here today with what you're doing over there at Pioneer and all the great work. But first, I just want to shout out all the awesome work that Pioneer Healthcare is doing. They have a 4.9 star rating from over 760 reviews. They have over 695 star reviews, 95% highly recommended. These are amazing scores, and it's no doubt as I start reading through these reviews, why people love working with your recruiters. We see words like they are such a champion, they're advocates for my needs, they're transparent, they're the most genuine recruiters that I've spoken to, helpful, informative. There's a lot of great things that are being said, and we know how important creating great experience is in a highly competitive environment. So kudos to you and your team and all the great reviews that they're getting. It's not us saying it, it's the people that you service. So you should be really proud of your recruitment team and the experience that they're driving out there.
I appreciate that so much. Thanks, Adam. It's an honor and very humbling to be a part of Pioneer, especially the recruitment side of things. I can't sit here and take all the credit for it. It's the recruiters that are out there, boots on the ground with these clinicians, making sure they feel heard and supported. So it makes me very proud to hear some of the reviews they've been getting from the clinicians out there.
And there is not a shortage of great reviews that you're getting. And hey, Dani, you've been doing this a long time. I always like to learn. I know as a little boy, I wasn't thinking to myself, I want to be a recruiter, right? So I always love to hear, what is your origin story? How did you get into the staffing industry?
So funny story, actually, my whole life, ever since I was a kid, I remember back in kindergarten, getting picked up. They'd say Dani was a chatterbox. We had to move her in the classroom. She couldn't keep her mouth shut today. And my whole life, I was just, everybody around me was like, you're going to end up in sales of some sort. You're going to end up in sales if you have the personality for it. And my mom actually works on the event side of things at a very large international staffing company. And so I knew a little bit about staffing, but wasn't quite ready to dip my toes in. I dabbled in real estate fresh out of college and loved that. But it was definitely harder to get that street cred when you're 21 or 22 years old. They know you haven't been in the industry for very long. And, I grew up doing a little bit of accounts receivable, actually, at a technology company in summers during high school. And I was about 22 or 23, and a large healthcare staffing agency reached out to me to join them on the accounts receivable side of things. And I loved the company, and I hated doing accounts receivable. It was a very heads down job, calling and collecting from clients all day, and being the bad guy. And I remember one client I had, I'd call her and I'd be like, hey, how's your day going? And she's like, hey, it was good until you called. I still don't have your money. And in that moment, I was like, I really felt like I wasn't making a difference. Right. And I left and went back into real estate a little bit, and then got a call from another healthcare staffing company who saw my experience from the first one and said, hey, we'd love to bring you in for an accounts receivable interview. And within 2 minutes of being on the phone with this corporate recruiter, she goes, are you sure you worked in accounts receivable? Have you ever thought about recruitment? And I said, I have, actually. I've just never taken the leap. And so she's like, I don't think I should bring you in for accounts receivable. And I go, oh, thank God. And she brought me, yeah, so I was like, thank you. And they brought me in for recruitment interview, and the rest is history. I worked at that company for about a year and a half, and then was recruited by the actual original staffing company I worked at the start of the pandemic to go back over there, and was there for many years, and started boots on the ground as a recruiter and rebuilt my desk of clinicians, and absolutely loved it. I was a top 10 recruiter, and eventually wanted to get into leadership and do more and be able to help more clinicians by helping influence the recruiters who are helping those clinicians. As one recruiter, you can only help so many people. But once I started making changes and realizing how many people I could really connect with by having my own team of recruiters, that was when the fun really got started for me. And I've now been over at Pioneer for almost 8 months, and have loved every second of it. It's truly an incredible place to work. So I'm the
That's
director of department over here, having a blast.
that is awesome. And I mean, you worked your way up, but it's good. You have the accounting background, right? You kind of understand the back office workings of
Oh yeah.
all the great work that recruiters do. So that's awesome. And what was it about leadership that kind of drew you to wanting to because that's a big step, right? Saying, you know what, I'm done being the individual. I think I have more to offer to the whole team. Like, what was it that drew you to wanting to be in a leadership position?
I think it was a couple things. It was definitely multifaceted. I think it was, on one hand, having the experience of having really good leaders, where I felt supported and heard and encouraged. On the other hand, I had a leader that really was unable to transition from that me of being an individual top performer and looking after their own desk to that we of we're a team. If you win, I win. And I think having had that experience of being under a leader like that, I decided that I truly had what it took to make a difference. And it was a hard decision to make. I had been asked a handful of times, and it meant giving up and sacrificing my own book of business and all the nurses I had worked with for 6 years, and I wasn't quite ready to walk away from that. The conversations with the clinicians and getting that phone call on the first day when they found their new home, right? I knew I was going to miss that, but ultimately I knew that I could help more recruiters and more clinicians and overall the business as a whole if I was able to kind of share some of the things that I had done that made me successful with others.
And talk about that a little bit as somebody who's been in the seat, been at a number of large organizations in the healthcare space, moving over to Pioneer. What do you feel are the most important ingredients that go into making a great healthcare recruiter?
Oh man, I think it's a big melting pot of so many different things. To be honest, I think the first is compassion. I think that's something that a lot of people, especially at large organizations, can lose sight of when their mentality is to get as many clinicians on assignment as possible, and that's what deems you successful, right? The clinicians start feeling like they're being treated like numbers, and I
Yeah.
think that the when you're in this job, right? And a lot of the times you're not meeting these clinicians face to face. Though I have many times, and it's one of my favorite parts of the job is when they get an assignment in Southern California, taking them to lunch and really getting to see the person behind the resume, right? But a lot of these times, people don't have that opportunity. And so it's
Right.
really easy to just, pick up the phone and be like, hey, you're canceled. I've seen recruiters from other companies even text someone that they're being canceled, right? And that's why I say compassion and empathy is the number one thing. It's realizing that these are people's livelihoods, that, we're asking somebody to leave their family, their friends, their comfortability, and go somewhere new to help an underserviced facility or school or skilled nursing facility, whatever the case may be. And they're taking a risk in doing that, both financial, emotional, mental, right? So understanding that there are people that we are working with, and that every submission, every offer, every canceled contract, there's something on the other side of that, and there's someone on the other side of that.
Right.
So I think that's probably the biggest piece, if I were to say. And the second one I'd say that's also really important is remembering that we're here to help. I think that, yes, we are in sales as being in a staffing company, right? But the recruiters that I've seen have the most success are those that build meaningful and lasting relationships with their clinicians, and they view it like they're helping a friend find a job. It takes kind of the business out of it, and you really, once you get to know someone's wants, their financial goals, are they traveling to visit a sick loved one? Are they taking their kids with them in the summer to Hawaii, to get out of Dodge for a little bit, right? Once you really get to your candidate's why, um, you can get them anywhere they want to go, right? But if you're just trying to fill an open need, it's never going to happen. So I think it's, instead of trying to plug candidates into the job, or I'm sorry, instead of trying to match the job to the candidate, we match the candidate to the job that works for them in their lifestyle.
Right. I was smiling there because I was just waiting for you to say that. And it's so key. Understanding their why. It is putting their agenda ahead of our own agenda. Obviously, as recruiters, we have a job to do. It's to place people. But we have so much more
Exactly.
success when we meet the individual where they're at, when we understand what their needs, their goals, their why. And it doesn't mean we have the perfect thing for them today, but
No,
I think when you make that kind of investment, that's the type, and you hit the other thing, long-term relation. That's the one that's coming back. That's the one
always.
that's going to refer their friend and say, hey, look, they couldn't help me today, but they were the best recruiter I ever worked with. They're going to help you and they're going to find something that's great for your why. I think that's amazing. Um,
Absolutely.
as recruiting management, it's always a challenge of balancing, the output, right? It's all about TOAs and getting it there. What are you doing over at Pioneer to kind of bring that experience you had where it was like all about the numbers, right? To marrying that with the fact that it is about the relationship, because it is a different approach. It is a different perspective that you need to take. What are the things that you're doing to help your team be successful and kind of bridge that gap between, yes, getting the travelers on assignment is obviously important for the business to grow, but you need to do it in this way, which is around the relationship, around empathy. What are you doing to help support that in the organization?
That's a great question. I think, a bunch of different things behind the scenes, right? I'll hit on two or three. The first is, a lot of large organizations in this industry, they kind of compare recruiters to each other, right? This is the number of TOAs you should be at because this is the average. One thing that really sets Pioneer apart is we're not hitting numbers just to hit numbers. We compare recruiters to their own individual baseline. So because recruiter A can maybe handle 80 travelers on assignment and they have great time management and their clinicians feel seen and heard, doesn't mean that that's realistic for recruiter B, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Some people might be maxed out at 20 or 30 TOA. Some people, in my prime, I got to 170 travelers on assignment, right? So everybody has their own individual baseline, I'll call it, for where they're able to have good work-life balance. That's something I have a huge light up sign in my, I'm working from home today, but at the office, I have this huge light up sign behind me that says work hard, play harder. I've never been someone who just wants to work, 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 and then die, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
we really, I take a good amount of time off because I want to show the team that it's healthy to do that. And
Yep.
as leaders, we set the tone, right? So I think part of it is we don't compare recruiters to each other. We compare them to themselves. Where were you at this time last year? Where were you at this time last quarter? How are you feeling? Are you able to sign off at 4 or 5 o'clock? Are you able to get to the kids' dance recital? Do you feel good about the work you're putting out? And if they do, then great. They're doing great. And if they're not and they want to be doing more, then we help encourage them to do more and help create structure and organization and allow them to reach their own potential. I think instead of trying to force something, we help them achieve what they want to achieve. And that in turn, if you treat your employees well, they feel valued, they feel supported. In turn, your customers and your clients are always going to be taken care of.
Yeah, that translates, right? And it translates to the experience that you have for the travelers as well, right? If they feel like a number, they're going to go act like a number. If they feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, they're going to go carry that over, right? And that increases
Exactly.
retention, redeployment. It's it's all interconnected. There isn't just one simple answer to go do it. Does Pioneer have a set of defined core values that you hire by, live by as an organization?
Yeah, absolutely. They're always changing though, and that might sound silly, but we live in a world, especially in the staffing industry, that is always changing, and so there's always going to be more iterations of what we have. One that has stuck tried and true the past 12 and a half years since Pioneer was first founded is people over profit. That is right there part of why I came over here, is that we put people, our relationships, our connections over the bottom line, over trying to hit X amount in revenue each year. Yes, those are all important things for a business to be doing to stay afloat, right? To be profitable and to be in the black. But we really believe in prioritizing the well being of our candidates, our clients, our team members. And that starts with fostering trust in a collaborative environment, and that ultimately allows us to make a meaningful impact. And I kind of hit on this, but we believe in creating the perfect match, right? We're dedicated to creating ideal connections by understanding the unique needs of both our clients on the facility side, our school side, as well as the clinicians. Um, we never want candidates to feel like we're just pitching one job to them, right? That's why, going back to the why is so, so important.
Yeah.
And then a core value is also work hard, play harder. Like I previously mentioned, we part of being, I guess, one of the most amazing parts of being at a small company after being at, a gigantic company is that you walk in and everybody knows who you are, right? Um, I remember when I first started, on the first day, we talked for hours about who I am, my family, my marriage, our animals before diving into anything work related. I took a trip to Japan in July for a week. It was a few months after I had started. And I came back on Monday morning and I was anticipating just being blown up by everything I had missed. And our owner and CEO, Dan Rietti, called me into his office and I was like, oh no, what happened? What I missed? And the first thing he said was, pull out your phone, show me your pictures. I want to hear all about it. And that right there, it says everything you need to know about Pioneer. The work can wait. The fires can wait. I want to hear about how you as a person are doing, and that's also how the recruiters, speak to their candidates. It's not all jumping into business. It's how was your weekend? What are you up to today? How's your family? How's your dog? Right? And building those meaningful connections.
Well, and you just nailed it. I mean, it's coming down from Dan. And if Dan's leading the organization that
Absolutely.
way, people follow. It's easy to say we have a culture, but when you're feeling it from the top down, and that is the nature of the culture, that's where things really get exciting. And I was thinking, I was like, Pioneer Healthcare is like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. So,
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get that blown up by the front door.
what do you do to help recognize and reward your internal team for success? I know for me, I cue this up, in a lot of times in staffing, it's the high fives, it's the atta boy, atta girl. When you get the placement, right? It's the wins. But we were just talking about baseball, right? The World Series, all that stuff.
Go
You get a
Yankees.
lot of at bats. You get a lot of
Go
at bats. You have a lot of great swings that don't turn into hits. And I see that those organizations that find ways to recognize those great hits, those great swings that don't turn into runs, tend to have a better culture around it and more excitement. I'm just curious. I'm probably believing you have some things in place that help you, but I'd love to hear what you do to help, keep people pumped up, award and recognize for the success outside of just the placements, but for doing a great job on the daily.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of hit on it initially. Obviously, the placements matter, right? That means we're helping candidates make money and we're helping facilities be staffed. But like you mentioned, there are so many other stages of the life of a candidate, if you will, before we get
Yeah.
to the placement stage. There's finding somebody who's ready to market, having that initial phone call where somebody's ready to go. They're interested in traveling. They're not super happy where they are and they're looking for something different. They want something more for themselves. There's submissions, there's interviews, there's offers. And then, of course, ultimately the placement. So we do quarterly awards for recognition where there's awards given for all of these different stages, not
Mm.
just top placements. A lot of agencies out there will do awards for top placements, highest margin, right? That's not what it's about. It's the opposite of what we preach and what we believe in people over
Yeah.
profit. So that's the first part is monthly and quarterly awards for all of those kind of stages of a candidate. Because just like you said, there's a ton of out bats. There might be some people getting some RBIs, someone who's brought in a new account, but maybe weren't able to place someone at it, but they helped the person sitting next to them do that, right? So that's the first part of it. There's of course promotional paths that are clearly lined out, so people know what they need to do to get to the next level. As someone who's been in sales for a long time, that's something that's super important, is having that hunger, that drive to, ego's of course a part of it, right, for salespeople. So they love seeing the senior recruiter four by their signature, in Outlook or whatever the case may be, and the pride that comes with that. We do Monday morning. We just had ours. It was awesome. We had 3 internal promotions today, which was incredible on the recruitment side, where we do shout outs, company-wide emails, huddles. And one of my favorites on the culture was something we implemented just after I started, actually, which is called the Swag and Wagon, which is our company store that you can find on our Pioneer website, and where you can get all of the Pioneer swag from Yetis to Columbia jackets to Carhartt, golf bags, you name it. And we do really, really fun things for birthdays. They get credits to that and they can go pick out anything they want. Anniversaries for both internal and external employees, which is super exciting. And one other thing I wanted to hit on is we do really fun internal contests. So right now, we're doing a really fun internal poker contest, without the poker, if you will, where different stages that the candidate gets moved through up until offer are worth certain cards. And winners get prizes, they get recognition. And that's going to show that even if it doesn't lead to a placement, you're still helping somebody. You're still sharing with them that you're their advocate. You're helping them feel heard and feel seen. And sometimes that's all people really need. So
Yeah.
we do everything we can to make our employees feel valued and taken care of here at Pioneer.
Sign me up, coach. Sign me up. Let's go.
Looking to get back into recruiting, boots on the ground.
Well, something I always like to ask. I mean, so you came in and you kind of inherited the Great Recruiters program,
Yeah.
right? And you hadn't used it at your prior organizations. And I'm just curious, where does Great Recruiters for you? Where does that fit into the culture side and what you are doing over at Pioneer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think when I started back in early March, we had 2 recruiters certified, and we're now at 7. So we've started implementing it into our weekly meetings. We give awards for it. We have an award in our quarterly awards called the Star Player Award, because Great Recruiters has the star on the website, and it's to the recruiter who got the most 4.0 and above reviews on Great Recruiters for the previous 90 days. And we'll do shout outs in the Monday morning meetings with quotes from the previous weeks. Here's what so-and-so had to say about this recruiter. Here's what they had to say about this recruiter. And as leaders, I think it is so important that we hear that feedback, right? I can talk to their managers, that report to me and hear how they're doing. I check in with the recruiters every week and at the office when we go in. But hearing what the candidates have to say is the most important thing. So really incorporating that into our weekly meetings, getting the recruiters excited about it. They want that certificate at their cubicle that says they're Great Recruiter certified. They want that street cred, right? So we're just so grateful for you guys for having this platform that allows us to kind of implement it to what we're doing, and allow really clinicians to just go on there and read reviews and see who they want to work with, who they're going to vibe with. Because having a recruiter that you can trust is the most important part of this process.
And what's the feeling? Because for a lot of people, that initial we're gonna go get feedback, right? We're gonna go ask people what they think about working with you. Like, what is the response from the recruitment team as it relates to getting that feedback, getting those reviews? What is the impact that you see it has on them directly?
Oh man, it's so exciting, because like you mentioned, they're all great reviews, right? So they love it. We do it kind of two ways. We have different stages that they're sent out automatically, and then recruiters obviously have the added benefit of sending direct solicited reviews to candidates that they're working with as well. And honestly, yes, it of course means so much when we see those reviews coming from candidates who are placed. But honestly, Adam, some of my favorite ones to read are those that are just having an initial phone call. Maybe they're not ready to travel for a year or two. Maybe they're a new grad and they just want to know what traveling's all about. And in that one initial 30-minute phone call, they had something great to say about their recruiter and went on the platform and are like, hey, I'm not even ready to travel yet, but this recruiter has it going on, right? They made me feel supported. And that in turn, being able to shout the recruiters out company-wide for that, putting it on our social medias, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel like they are making an impact on this industry.
And as a leader, how does it help you as a leader? I mean, you lived without it and now you're living with it. Like, how has it made your life easier?
I think the most important thing is making sure, of course, our internal employees are happy and feel advocated for, but also our external employees, our clients and our clinicians, right? Our therapists that we're working with day in and day out. So being able to go on there on any day, getting, about 20 reviews a week on average, we can go in and see what are people having to say about us and are we doing well? Not are we doing well as in are we hitting the bottom line? Are we, doing great in revenue? But are we doing good work? Are we doing meaningful work? Are we helping clinicians? Hearing a clinician or reading a review from a clinician that said they felt heard, they felt advocated for, they felt that we listened when they talked about how important nurse to patient ratios are and that we weren't trying to, fit a peg into a square shaped peg into a circle shaped hole, right? Whatever that saying is. They felt, oh man, my recruiter wasn't trying to push me into this job. They really knew that I only wanted to go to Detroit, Michigan because my grandfather is dying and I want to be there for him for the next couple months, right? So being able to know that the team that we have in place are the right people for the role and are really doing good work, not just numbers wise, but on an emotional level is of the utmost importance.
And it's not to put words in your mouth, but it's validating what you're striving to do, right? But you're getting the outside perspective, validating why you put the things you put in place, why you put the emphasis on it. And it's ensuring that quality of interaction experience, which we know just leads to long-term success. So I love that you've embraced it because I think I liken it as a gym membership. You can buy a gym membership and you can be upset that you didn't get the results you want, but you have to show up. You have to know how to use the equipment. You have to know when to get coaching, right? And it's not just having it, it's using it and implementing it in a way that aligns with what your goals are for your culture. And it sounds like you guys have done an outstanding job doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the referrals that come from it too are incredible. And, as a recruiter, and, I can speak to that because I was one for so many years. There's nothing more exciting and gives you that pat on the back than getting a referral, than someone saying, hey, you did such a great job with me. I'm trusting you with a loved one or a friend or a colleague. I'm putting my stamp of approval on you that I know you're going to take care of this good person, or take care of this person well. I'm sorry. It just, it makes the world go round in this industry is someone entrusting you with their family and friends.
And it's interesting. Some people are like, oh, this is great. It makes us feel good. It does this thing. But like, what's the value? What's the ROI? How does this drive ROI at our clients? How does this drive ROI for our travelers out there? And what is your perspective? How do you translate all this work that you're doing? Right? It's touchy feely. It's making people feel good. How do you justify the extra effort and time to go in? Why not just be a high volume transaction? What's the ultimate value that you see, and why Pioneer invests in this type of relationship? And what is this? How does this translate to the bottom line for the organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the biggest thing is reviews, whether it be our Google reviews, our Glassdoor reviews, our Great Recruiters reviews, seeing what's on there. And again, it all comes back to the people over profit. We're not the company out there that's like, we need to get X amount of clinicians on assignment, and that's when we know we've made it, right? We're out there to help as many people as possible without sacrificing the level of service that we are able to offer each candidate and each client, right? So as numbers grow, a lot of times things start to get really wobbly. And, I felt it, right? As being a recruiter with so many clinicians that I helped, there's only so many hours in the day, right? So part of what we try and do is we really have found that happy medium of our business has grown substantially over the past year, and attribute a lot of that to the relationships that we have to platforms like Great Recruiters, and being able to make sure we're helping people. Being able to know, okay, what we're doing matters, and is ultimately, if we're helping others, it's going to come back around, right? If we take great care of the clinicians that we have, then they're going to keep sending us referrals. And at the end of the day, our business is going to keep growing, which allows us to then hire more recruiters, implement more platforms such as Great Recruiters, and help drive the business forward even more. As long as we're doing it in that way, that feels good, with people over profit steering the ship.
Yeah. And then how does that, I mean, and that translates to the success you have with the facilities,
Absolutely,
right?
because we're sending them great candidates, right? I've
People
never
are
worked somewhere that has a cancellation rate this low. But it goes to show that the vetting that we're doing for our
right.
candidates, ultimately for our facilities, making sure they're not just getting a candidate, or they're not getting someone who's going for the price tag posted on the website. They're going there for a reason. They connected with the manager in the interview, or the special education director. They made that meaningful connection, not just with their recruiter, but with the facility they're going to as well. Almost all of our candidates extend. And being in this industry, most of them are year contracts, being in allied therapy. People will stay there for years because of the relationships the candidates have built with the facilities. And that goes to show that we're really taking the time to vet these people out and put them in the position that, yes, is right for the candidate, but it's also the right fit for the school or the facility as well.
Right. And let's because we're hitting up on time, and I just want to wrap on this thing. For those who don't know, if you are looking for opportunities, Dani, talk to me about who do you help, where do you help them, as the listeners are out there and they're looking for a great recruiter to work with. What types of positions, locations? Just give us the overview. Who do you service out there from a facility and a school standpoint? You don't need to say names, but locations, roles, just giving us that perspective.
Yeah, we staff in just about all of the 50 states. We staff primarily in schools, education settings. We also do medical, skilled nursing facilities, home health, and hospice. Our primary specialties are within the therapy world. So speech language pathologists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, special education teachers, psychologists, and all of the assistants that go with that as well. All over the place. You name it, we staff there. One of the amazing things about Pioneer as well is our incredible business development team. So if you want to go somewhere, just like you hit on at the beginning, Adam, we might not have a job in that exact location, but we have an entire team that is going to be calling every school in that region to find the job for you if that is where you want to go. A lot of companies out there are just like, sorry, keep an eye on the website. We don't have that job. We will do everything we can to create a job if we don't have it, to make sure that we're finding that perfect match. So, we'll do whatever it takes to make the candidates and the clients happy.
I love it. Dani, this has been an absolute pleasure, and kudos to you and Pioneer for the great work that you're doing. If you're out there, look, you have a lot of choices to choose between staffing firms. If you're out there looking for recruitment help, you have a lot of choices you can make if you're a candidate looking to work with a recruiter. But I'm going to tell you, you might as well start with a company like Pioneer. You start with somebody who is going to put you first, understand your why. I love it. To me, I always say, find your recruiter for life. You'll never need to look for a job again. And you just said it. If we don't have it, we're going to go ahead and find it for you. So, Dani, what's the easiest way for people to connect with the recruiters over there at Pioneer?
Yeah, so a couple different ways. Obviously, you can go on Great Recruiters. We love working with you guys. You can check out our company page, go in by recruiters, sort by reviews, see what matches your style. Each recruiter that we have has their own individual style that makes them unique. We're definitely not one size fits all. Everybody has their own thing going for them. Go on the website, search some of our jobs, click apply now. Right when you get on there, a little pop-up that will come up to subscribe to our newsletter that our marketing team sends out with hot jobs and hot candidates, and just apply, have a conversation, get to know somebody. And if anything, you'll make a friend. I have friends to this day who I'm friends with on Instagram and go to happy hours with, who never ended up traveling with me. They ended up sticking perm, but they've sent referrals, and we've become friends and gone on trips together. So you never know who you're going to meet. So set up a call, learn more. I always say, educate yourself is the best thing that you can do.
I love it. I love it. This has been an absolute joy. Thank you for validating all the work that we do as well. I mean, this is what we do it for. We do it for organizations like you. We do it for people like you that care about relationships. Opportunity exists everywhere. You just don't see those opportunities if you aren't focused on the relationship first. And I love that you said you have people that you've become friends with, and you became friends because you're good people. You're looking to build those relationships, and opportunity comes out of it. So, Dani, it's been a pleasure. Again, congratulations to Pioneer Healthcare for being named top-rated healthcare staffing firm for the first half of 2024. You're doing amazing work. Your reviews show it. And everybody, just remember, you have a choice. You can work with just any old recruiter, or you can go work with great recruiters. The choice is yours. But Dani, again, congratulations, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate the chat.
All right. Take care, everyone. Go out there and be great.